Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah. Asyhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Asyhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. That's to say, certainly all praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His assistance, we seek His forgiveness, and we also seek His protection from the evil within our own selves and from our own bad deeds. Whoever He guides cannot be led astray, and whoever He leaves astray cannot be guided. I bear witness that there's nothing worthy of worship except Allah alone with no partners, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His slave, servant, and messenger. Dear believers, Imam Khalid asked me to give the khutbah today. Please pardon my tardiness. Trust me, I got here as soon as I could. It's always an honor and somewhat humbling of an experience to stand before you. Inshallah, what I want to do today is talk about, as we're wrapping up Ramadan, I want to talk about the Iqra moment. Essentially, my question to y'all is, have you found your Iqra moment? Did you have it during Ramadan? What do I mean by the Iqra moment? We all know the story of the first revelation, right? The reason why we're celebrating what makes this month so special and holy for the Muslims in Ramadan is when the Quran was initially revealed. And the first revelation, the first word was Iqra. Read, recite, proclaim. And it was a moment that, if you did a before and after, the life of Rasulullah wasn't the same after that. He wasn't the same person after that moment. It was profound, it was transformative. Did you have that moment? You're wrong. Did you seek that moment? Now, if you're sitting there like, what? I didn't get the angel to come to me. No, I'm not expecting an angel to come to me. But the moment where you have a realization within yourself that Allah is calling you to be greater than what you are. Did you have that moment? If so, alhamdulillah. If not, alhamdulillah, we're still here. Ramadan is still here. Tonight is the 29th night of Ramadan, so it's not too late. Inshallah, we should all be looking for our Iqra moment. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he had his Iqra moment, where was he? He was in his cave, right? I should clarify, because a lot of us brothers, we know we have our own caves too, right? Our man caves. It's a little bit different than that. Allah blessed me and my wife and some others to make a trip this spring break to Umrah. And part of that trip, as we were in Medina, as we were in Mecca, is we actually, myself and some others, got to climb up, walk up Jabal Nur. I shouldn't say climb. It has stairs, quite a few stairs. We were able to walk up Jabal Nur and actually go to, they have it tagged Gar Hira, the cave of Hira, where the Prophet ﷺ would retreat to. And it's a small space. I'm too big to stand up in this space. Some other brothers can stand up in this space. But it's a comfortable space. It's a peaceful space, especially if you're sitting. The cave is formed by these rocks, but there's openings within the rocks which allow a breeze to go through. So it's like natural air conditioning coming here. So I'm there and I'm reflecting. I'm like, okay, Rasulullah, I see you. So it's like you're away from the people. You got the AC, away from the noise. But it paints a picture of that preparation for an Iqra moment. It's away from all the fuss and the buzz. It's away from the entertainment. It's away from the distractions. away from the social media where you are being reflective. And we all know that our messenger, peace be upon him, was a very reflective individual. We also know he was a very sensitive person. He was sensitive to the fact that he lived and was aware that in his place, in his city, there was suffering, there was injustice, and it bugged him. There was idol worship, which to him didn't make any sense, and it bugged him. But he also loved his people. He loved the good within his people. But overall, he was very concerned with the trajectory that he saw them on. He would withdraw, he would reflect, he would think. What is this all, what's the purpose of this? What does this all mean? What can I do? I'm just one man. And I say for a moment. What are we doing to facilitate our own Iqra moment? We have to take the time. So Allah has prescribed for us in this month of Ramadan, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam, He has prescribed for us the fasting, so that perhaps, la'allakum tattaqun, perhaps, maybe, just possibly, we might actually become mindful of God. It's a chance. The opportunities are ripe. First of all, you're fasting, so you're going through this practice of putting yourself in check, which is part of developing mindfulness of God. On the back end of the Iqra moment, you realize that God is calling you. So after you realize God is calling you, naturally what you would do as a believer is you respond to that call. We already know what God is calling us to because He kind of spelled it out for us. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah. Be mindful of Allah. Simple. Kind of. Be mindful of Allah. In the Prophet's Iqra moment, he was confronted with the angel Jibril, telling him, Iqra, which commonly we interpret that as, translate that as read. And it is read, but just an understanding of that word read, it's not just pronouncing words, it's not just making sounds. Reading is the art of taking symbols and interpreting their meanings. Right? We have a crisis in the Dallas Independent School District. You can get online and look at the state reading scores. They're not good. You have some students who are, their reading level is so low they can't even pronounce the symbols. And then you have others who can pronounce them, but they'll read a whole passage, and if you ask them simple questions about, well, what happened, who are the main characters, what's the main idea, so what do you think is going to happen next? You get crickets. So they're just pronouncing sounds, but they're not really comprehending what it is they're reading. The art of reading is truly understanding, comprehending. These symbols are conveying meanings to you. For us in our Iqra moment, we are being challenged. Allah is challenging us to open up our eyes, look around us. Everywhere Allah has put signs. You yourself are a sign. All around you and within yourself are signs. Only problem is we are not reading. We're not putting the signs together. We don't know what it means. Because we're texting, because we're daydreaming, because we're chasing after money. We're not reading. What is Allah telling us through His creation? There's a phrase called beer goggles. Y'all probably don't know what this is, so I have to explain it. The idea is that drink so much beer, you become intoxicated with beer, that now your vision is obscured. And so a person who normally you would find as unattractive, you find them very attractive. That's the effect of the beer goggles. Now, why am I saying this is because In the initial revelation, Allah is saying, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. He's telling us to read in the name of your Lord who has created. Essentially, he's telling us to read with some Bismillah goggles. In other words, you are so intoxicated, if you will, with the idea of Bismillah. Everything has begun with Bismillah. Brothers, please move forward. There's a lot of space. You can pack it in real tight. Allah is calling us to read in His name. Look at things with the understanding that this is created by your Lord, who created this out of His. Your Lord is Akram, He's the most generous, bountiful. So God's generosity is surrounding us in His creation. His mercy surrounding His creation is there. Are we looking at it? Are we taking notes? Do we see it? Are we compelled to say, Alhamdulillah? Are we compelled to give something back, to do something? And so the challenge of the Quran is that if you just read, you will be compelled to submit. It goes on. Allah says that He created man. خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. He created man from this thing which clings, this clingy thing we are inherently. We came into existence clinging into our mother's womb, depending on it for our dear life, for everything, to protect us, to nourish us. And ironically, today, we're not that much different. Although we see ourselves as strong, independent, self-sufficient, we are still essentially at our core as these clingy things, depending on Allah's mercy and His generosity at every single moment. I know you work really hard, I know you're really smart, I know you put in the work, etc., etc., etc. Howsoever, none of that is possible if Allah does not facilitate it. Your intelligence, your opportunities, your talents are from Him. And by the way, He can strip you of them at any moment. Any moment. So here we are, clinging to Allah, whether we realize it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we are grateful for it or not, clinging to Allah, depending on Allah for everything. For everything. That's our nature. Unfortunately, because some of us have not recognized that it's Allah that our souls are clinging to, sometimes we look to feel that urge to cling to something with something other than Allah. Some other person, some other activity, to fill that void that makes us feel, okay, you know what, it's not Allah that I'm trusting on. I'm trusting on my own intelligence, or I'm trusting on my spouse, or I'm trusting on my bank account because I got so much money, nothing can, harm me. I got so many people supporting me, nothing, I'm protected. The reality is, we're still clinging, we're still dependent on Him. Your Iqra moment is when you read or recognize or comprehend Allah's message to you. And you have to make a conscious decision within yourself to answer His call. The Iqra moment, you all, is a skin-shedding moment. As Ramadan is nearing its end, you should be reflecting on how you are different and how you are emerging from this blessed month as a stronger believer than when you entered. Because if the month ends and you're not emerging as a stronger believer than when you entered, You just deprived your body of food for 30 straight days? For nothing. That's tragic. You deprived yourself of all that sleep for nothing. You're the same person. How can that be? Something went wrong. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وتنظر نفس ما قدمت لغد واتقوا الله إن الله خبير بما تعملون. Oh, you believe, be mindful of Allah and pay attention to what your souls are earning for tomorrow, and be mindful of Allah. Certainly Allah is fully aware of everything that you're doing. Allah calls us here to pay attention not only to Him, but pay attention to what we are doing. What we are doing has ramifications for our souls, very strong ramifications for our souls in the future. The future meaning, in the physical world, but the future also meaning when we meet Him on the day of judgment. Are we paying attention to what we're doing? Because He's paying attention to what we're doing. And Allah, He's fully aware and well informed and recording all of our actions. So it's a good idea we might be paying attention to. In a famous hadith Qudsi that we all have probably heard once or twice, narrated by Abu Hurairah, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reported that Allah has said, which translated as, "My servant draws not near to me with anything more beloved by me than performing that which I have made obligatory. And my servant continues to draw near to me with voluntary acts of worship, nawafil, so that I love him. And when I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, I am his sight with which he sees, his hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he kicks, with which he walks. And were he to ask of me anything, I would surely grant it to him." Alhamdulillah. Allah spells it out for us. You looking for guidance? There it is. You want Allah to love you? It's a blueprint. Identify what he has obligated you to do. Identify. There's a book, married couples probably know this. My wife and I received this book as a wedding gift called Love Languages. And supposedly there's like 5 love languages, and different people have different languages based on, whatever their different personalities are. So some people, their love language, for example, is gifts. If you want them to feel loved by you, you give them gifts, because that's how they understand, oh, you love me, you gave me a gift. For some people, it's spending quality time. You can give them gifts, but if that's not their love language, they feel neglected because, you're not spending quality time with them, etc., etc., etc. Allah is telling us in this hadith Qudsi his love language. If you love me, this is what you do. What I've obligated you to do. Identify those things that I have imposed upon you as an obligation, and then you do them. You choose to do them. And then, once you've established that habit, then I want you to take up those things that are voluntary acts of worship. That's what Allah loves. And when you get to that point in your relationship with Allah, and He loves you, you don't see the world the same. You don't look at things the same. You don't look at the same things. all of your senses are going to be affected by that relationship, that nearness to Allah. This is what waits for us on the other side of our Iqra moment. Our brothers, scoot up a some more. We're going to have to really pack it in. Guys in the front, y'all look good. It's the brothers in the middle and the brothers in the back are just kind of hanging back there. Y'all can move up. So my final thoughts on this is we need to identify as believers, what are these obligations that Allah is calling us to, and where are we with these obligations? Because He asks us to be mindful of how our actions are reaping benefits or punishment in the future. And so I'm going to share with you all the challenge that was shared with me, which is a 40-day Salat challenge. 40-day Salat challenge is identifying and recognizing that the main obligation that Allah has put on the believers is over and over again in the Quran is the establishment of Salat. And I'm saying Salat, not prayer, because prayer, some people think that's just like making dua, and we always do that. Oh Allah, help me with this. Oh Allah, do this for me. Oh Allah, do that for me. But no, Salat is different. The ritual prayer, when you stop, you recite His words, and you reflect on those words, you withdraw from whatever business you are engaged in and show that you're being mindful and obedient to your Lord. Establishing that is a main priority and obligation that is put on us. And it's going to be the first thing we're questioning about. And sadly, many Muslims, and Surah Al-Mudaththir, when they're asked, well, what happened to those, to so-and-so, why are they in the hellfire? And their response is, we didn't pray. Or more accurately, we didn't make salats. We didn't make salat. And we didn't give charity, we didn't feed the poor, etc., etc. So one thing we can do for ourselves to check ourselves as we're coming out of this Ramadan is do an audit on our salat. The 40-day challenge is essentially like this. For 40 consecutive days, challenge yourself to make every prayer at its appointed time before the time goes out. That's Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha, all of them. Now, if you're thinking that's way too much, I feel it. Knock it down. Do 7. Make 7 days. Make a 7-day challenge. If you're at a point in your practice where, man, I only pray when I come to do. Okay, I'm doing that. So now, I want to point out it's not that relevant about where you are. It's more important where you're trying to go and where you're trying to grow to. So if you're only making one prayer, then you need to say, okay, I need to increase this. How can I increase it? Every day I can make Fajr, so I'll make Fajr. Every day I know I can make Dhuhr. So let me start there. Start somewhere. So that if Allah decides that He's going to take you from this earth soon, at least the angels can record that, hey, he had an Iqra moment, he had a skin shedding moment, and he was on the path to self-improvement with regards to worshiping his Lord. That's a good look. No matter where you are on this path, there's levels to this, and you'll never be perfect. But Allah in His mercy, as long as you are here, as long as you are breathing, and as long as you are willing, you can start making improvements. So Salat is a good place to start in terms of things that Allah has obligated us to do. And so that's my final thought on this. If you haven't found your Iqra moment yet, every moment, even outside of Ramadan, is a potential for an Iqra moment, because Allah is just that merciful. And His signs are continuous. The only limit to the Iqra moments that we have that I found is our ability to recognize the signs, interpret the signs, and be impacted by those signs so that we make a decision within ourselves to do better. So it's really, it falls on us. It falls back on us. Are we looking to make an improvement or not? ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Essentially, as Muslims, we should be building ourselves anew every day. We should not be satisfied. So it's one thing to say, man, I'm a way better person than I am 20 years ago. Alhamdulillah, I should hope so. That's a long time ago without improving. But are we a better person than you were 2 weeks ago? 2 days ago? So we should not cut ourselves too much slack. There's always the challenge before us to get better. And our example is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't believe any of us have mastered his sunnah as of yet. So we have something else that we can incorporate. We have more things to understand and to implement into our toolbox. Introduce it a little bit at a time. As a community, we have committed ourselves, as y'all see, as y'all came in. I know y'all saw the kiosks. There's a lot of strategy that went into where we're going to place it so nobody misses it, right? So everyone here should be aware all through the month of Ramadan that we are pulling our resources together to build a new masjid, to build a new structure, because really, this structure is not going to make it. But we don't want to just build a new, beautiful masjid and put the same old person in there. We want to have new people to put into this new masjid. It's like a full package deal. So we can't invest all of our time worried about monies and fundraisers and how much you're going to pay and shaking people down. Really, what's more important, what's more crucial, more critical, is what are we doing to develop ourselves? How are we developing ourselves? How are we paying attention to ourselves? So pay attention to life around you and read, interpret, make sense of Allah. He's always sending a clue to do something. And always keep looking for those ways in which you can improve yourself. But at the same time, we need you to get to the master. That's what I'm saying. Take advantage of these last couple days, the last few hours of Ramadan. We have tonight, tomorrow fasting. Spend this time in worship. If you haven't begged for Allah's mercy and His forgiveness and salvation, hurry up. If you haven't begged and pleaded for Allah to spare you, hurry up. We're running out of time. That could be a good moment. Just sitting there waiting for you to seize it.